Broadcasting by way of Gallifrey. Stand by for podcast. This is Voices from the Vortex.
Voices from the Vortex Review, Series 8, Episode 11, Dark Water.
Dark Water, written by Steven Moffat, is the first part to a two-part series finale for Season 8. When Danny Pink crosses the road and gets to the other side, Clara forces the Doctor to help her find the means to bring him back. However, the Doctor uncovers more than just a mysterious agency known as 3W. He uncovers an army of Cybermen and the newly regenerated form of the Master. Yeah, so, wow.
So, holy crap.
Holy crap, wow.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
So,
Jesus
I'm
Christo.
glad that the series has gotten better.
Yes.
Clearly they were building to an epic part 1.
Oh my god.
To part 2. Jeez.
Okay, so, hi everyone.
Hi, hey guys.
Hey, this is Taylor.
This is Matt.
And we are still recovering, I tell you what.
Jeez.
I know, yeah. It was one of the best episodes of Doctor Who I think I've ever seen, and one of the craziest reveals and shocking things, and just it was just nuts, and I loved every minute of it.
So normally when these seasons are airing, you kind of know it's coming. Whatever it is, you kind of know it's coming. The twist is always the twist, but they really reveal a lot more about it leading up to it. We knew the Cybermen were in the finale. We knew they were a part of it. But we thought it had to do with Missy, and we thought it had to do with Missy as a brand new character, but maybe she was the Ranny, maybe she was the TARDIS, maybe she was, River or something like that.
Or even just...
but no!
No! Yeah. No.
It was the return of the Master!
The Master! Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Dun.
Oh. Alright, we'll get to the details about the Master later,
yes.
Because I'm so excited. But I guess first impressions of this episode. What did you think, Matt?
This was everything I needed part 1 of the two-parter to be. This whole season, you know it. You've heard me say this. All of you have heard me say this all season long. This season has been rough. It started off rough, and it didn't give us what I felt people needed to trust the Doctor, to feel good about the Doctor. This season's been rough, but it's been building. I needed this. I needed an episode that just blew my mind away. First impression, yes, this is... I agree with your first comment. This is probably one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever.
Yeah, Steven Moffat really, really outdid himself on this one. And everybody knows who listens to this. They know we loved Steven Moffat. We
Very
give him
much so.
We give him grief, but we still really enjoy his work. And people complain about him and say, oh, maybe how long is he going to stick around? I hope he sticks around even longer, because if he keeps doing stuff like this, then I will be happy with this show.
This is everyone who has the criticisms about Steven Moffat. All their criticisms, no matter what it is, they want to attack him and say he doesn't know how to write. He doesn't. That's really the attacks that they do. Anything they're saying, they're just saying, you don't know how to write. You write crappy Doctor Who. You don't know what you're doing. Bring us back Russell T Davies, because for the love of God, you can't do this job. He has proven over the last 3 series that he can do this job very well. God, I get it now. I wish there was something he could have said to us at the very beginning and could have said, just chill, just, calm down, take it easy, check it out. You are totally going to believe he is the Doctor by the end. That's not just us saying you're going to love him. It's us saying you're going to get it. And this is it. I feel like I get it. I feel like this is the Doctor. And it took a whole season to get here. And that's just Moffat. That's how he writes.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too with Doctor Who is it goes series by series, so it's each series is kind of its own story, and this definitely, it's its own story starting from the beginning of it to the end, and we get a lot of that of the Doctor's sort of growth and his character development, and you're right. By the end of this season, I have no qualms at all. I go back and watch some of the first episodes and go, oh, I see, I see what
we get it now.
I get it, yeah.
Yeah, see where they're headed.
Well, let's talk about, there's so many things to talk about in this episode, but we're going to talk about some of the main stuff first. Let's talk about the very first scene. Well, it's not the very first scene, but it's the volcano scene.
Yeah.
Super intense. We were watching the promos and we thought maybe Clara was like taken over by something. She was being used by Missy.
Right.
No. She's stricken with grief.
And maybe for in a certain way, she was taken over by something. It's love, it's sadness, it's grief. She tries to tell Danny all these things. She finally says, "I got to get this out. I've thought about it. I know what I have to tell him," and he dies. Mm-hmm. And she can't live with that. She can't live with how ordinary a death that was. She has seen so much with the Doctor, with both Matt Smith and Capaldi. So for Danny to just die like that volcano scene, I think it serves a couple of different things here. One, it makes Clara. It shows us really what's in her heart. She is dying inside, and it is violent, and it is explosive, and that's what that volcano represents. She is tossing those keys because she is like, this is it. This is every bit of me, and I am tearing it out of my soul and showing you, and I will let nothing else survive unless we can fix this. But I think the scene actually goes all the way back to Capaldi's early references, where he doesn't know what the face is from. We get a sort of a wink and a nod. We know exactly where this face is from. It's Volcano Day. It's the fires of Pompeii. But maybe this is a part of that. What Capaldi's face represents is the father figure. What Capaldi's face represents is the man who had to make a terrible choice or was a part of a choice that was made. And this volcano scene, this is sort of Clara's reaching out saying, "Save me," and the Doctor finding a way to pull her back. The same way Tennant did with Capaldi's character, with the father from Pompeii. And I feel like this scene reflects that episode from season 4 and a lot of those themes and all those ideas.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the acting in this scene was just incredible. I mean, Capaldi's saying, throw the keys, do what you're told, like you're not going to do it, just, and then Clara's like, I'll do it, and when she throws the last one and saying, I'd say I'm sorry, but I do it again. God, I was like, this is only the first 10 minutes, and I'm already like, I'm already like on the edge of my seat going, oh my God. So, I loved this scene. And right after, we really get a sense of how much the Doctor does care for Clara. He says, do you really think you betraying me would make me care for you any less? Of course I'm going to help you. We're going to find Danny and all that. And I thought it was interesting too that all turned out to be a dream, because I was thinking, oh no, when the keys are all gone, what's going to happen? How are they going to get back on the TARDIS? That's going to be an interesting conflict. But then it sort of all that went away, and it was like, oh, okay, it was all just a test.
I didn't understand. Like, she throws away the keys. They both know you can open the door by snapping. What does it matter if you throw away all the keys?
I don't know. Maybe if it's...
That was the one thing that I'm like, why is this such a big deal? Oh, throw all the keys away. That's fine. He'll just snap his fingers. Maybe it's like... She's done it.
Maybe it's like those cars where you have to have the key like in your pocket. You have to be close enough to it. And then you can snap your fingers.
You mean all those cars we could buy that can travel through space and time, and I can open the doors by snapping my fingers if the key's in my pocket? Yeah, exactly like those cars. It's a Honda Civic. You're right. I want to point one more thing out. This is actually something someone else pointed out to me, and I had to think about it for a second. They showed there were like 4 or 5 of those dream patches, and they only used one. they wouldn't have shown that there were 4 or 5 of those dream patches unless one more was going to be used. I feel like we're going to see one more in the next episode. I feel like that's a setup for something coming.
I do too. I feel like those they mentioned them, and then he says, "Oh, they're not sleep patches; they're dream patches. They give you this and this, an altered dream state or whatever." And I feel like they explained a bit about those too much for them to just be a one-time use thing. I agree with you on that one. And
I don't know if that's something we're going to see next episode, or if that's something we're going to see next season. Or I feel like we're going to see that come back, and that's cool. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying it's such a weird thing to set up and drop in there.
I think it'll come back. I do. Okay, so the next thing we'll talk about is Moffat. Moffat is a really good writer, but he's also he's very creative. He comes up with these new things. I mean, he came up with the Weeping Angels, and look at them. They've exploded. Mm-hmm. They've become so popular.
Sure.
And he comes up with all these new different things for the show. Well, one of the things he comes up with in this thing is he's got this whole new idea of what happens when you die, and this whole new thing to scare the bejesus out of us.
Right. Well, but see, that's an interesting point. But a lot of what we saw, you got to keep in mind, all of it's a lie. Everything that Danny goes through, for the most part, is a lie, isn't it? Because he's inside the Gallifreyan matrix that was there, that Missy was using.
Yeah.
So it's his essence, his soul, just like on Gallifrey, how you could Time Lord could enter the matrix. They've done that with human consciousness. And that's, maybe they can feel what's going on out there, or maybe that's just a form of torture that the Master is putting people through.
Perhaps. I just thought that,
I don't know.
I thought that was a really interesting thing.
It's a cool concept, though.
It's a very cool concept.
A lot.
And there was a lot of, the scenes with Dr. Chang, where he was explaining about the guy who did the research. It seemed like it was maybe just something new that he had come up with. And
yeah.
And so then, the Master had decided, well, I'm going to, instead of, I'm going to use these people for this purpose. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool.
No, I really liked it. And I think you're right. Moffat comes up with just some really cool off-the-wall stuff. When we talk about really great writers of science fiction, a lot of times your new age writers try to make everything about, battles and about starships and about, its technology. And some of the best writers today look at like Star Wars or Star Trek as an example. They look at these long-lasting properties and say, I want to write something similar. I want to write something that takes those sorts of adventurous themes. But then you get writers like Neil Gaiman who say, no, let's make something so big that you have to really wrap your head around it. And that's what Moffat does. He writes these incredible concepts that really take people aside and just say, if you're going to like the episode, but if you're going to get the episode, you're going to have to figure out what we're talking about. And this is exactly what Moffat's doing. Is he's saying, we can look at what our perceived notion of life and death is. And yes, this is just an example of something that could be happening. And of course, it wasn't. It's a trick by the Master. But it kind of challenges a little bit of what we know about the Doctor, what we know about the Doctor's universe. What does happen when you die? The Doctor said he's always wanted to get around to figuring out where people go when they die, and he's all about science and about regeneration and about, understanding that there could be life after death from a scientific standpoint. So we're really being introduced to a concept that maybe death isn't exactly what we think. Maybe death is a lot of different things. And, this is just one version or one example of what could be there. I like that. I like that Moffat's he's taking this really cool adventure with Cybermen and the Master, and he's giving us this really over-the-top concept that we have to expand our minds and wrap our brains around just to be able to handle.
Yeah.
And you don't even notice you're doing it. That's pure Moffat.
Yeah, it's really great. And that brings us to basically, I want to talk about Danny's story. Yeah, throughout this whole thing, he's kind of the B story going on here. we're finally getting some real good Danny action. You know, he kind of helped out in the Forest of the Night, which is great. But most of all, in the other scenes, he's been on the phone. You know, and he even dies on the phone in this one. Way to go, Danny. Anyway, so he goes to the Nether Sphere and he meets Seb, which I love Seb. We'll get to Seb later. I love him. But anyway, he meets Seb and he basically meets we get to learn about his soldiering past and why he was so emotional into the Dalek. So apparently he there was some I guess stray fire and some casualties.
It was a military campaign.
Yeah, and
he ends up opening fire in a building and it kills a kid.
Yeah. And the kid was there, which is heartbreaking. And that's the real interesting point too. If we're thinking about, you know, is this a trick by the Master or what? You know, does the Master know? Actually, we need to start calling her the Mistress. I need to get
we'll
used
get there.
to this.
Hang on, we'll get there. Right.
Is the Master? Is this like a hologram of this kid or what? Well, you know, we'll see next episode. But he is also going through this dilemma of, should I delete myself? And the kid shows up at the end. You see him in the reflection of the iPad.
Right.
And so that's going to be really... I loved that because it was a cliff... we had this big cliffhanger of, you know, it's the Master and all these Cybermen are coming out. Oh my God. But then you get this sort of... You know... You get this nice little cliffhanger at the very end. Also, this is happening.
One... It's interesting, too, because you're right. This episode, the cliffhangers for this episode mimic Russell T Davies' cliffhangers. It does not necessarily mimic Stephen Moffat's cliffhangers. Stephen Moffat, well, first off, we didn't have a cliffhanger in Season 6. Season 7's cliffhanger was just one thing. It was Jan introducing John Hurt as the Doctor, dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And, you know, Season 5 had a pretty decent cliffhanger in that there were two stories going on. But Russell T Davies really brought it to life with all his cliffhangers. There was always 5 or 6 things happening. Characters were split up. The Doctor lands on Earth to go search for Rose, and as they're running together, the Dalek shoots the Doctor, and Jack shows up, so now they're pulling the Doctor into the TARDIS, and he's about to regenerate. Meanwhile, you have Torchwood having to face off against the Daleks. Meanwhile, you have, Sarah Jane driving her car, and there's the Daleks. Like, it was multiple things were going on. Yeah. Different stories all leading together. And you didn't see a lot of that in the last couple seasons. And this really kind of reflected that. Danny's story feeds into that Moffat idea of the concept of what we're talking about, life and death. Having Danny face his demons is something we knew was going to happen this season. They've set that up since Into the Dalek. But his story is all about acceptance. Accepting Clara for who she is, accepting himself for what he's done, accepting the students as more than just kids, but potential, and finally now accepting his life now that he's dead. And I love that because that is such a great theme for Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. Someone is facing that. What do you call it? They're facing that mortality. They're facing that consciousness about themselves. Right. And that's just one piece of that huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, and I really loved this scene where he gets to talk to Clara right before this, and he basically he saves her. He says, I don't want you coming here. There's only one way for you to come here, and you get your whole life to live. He basically lets her go. He says, look, I love you, but I don't want you to come here. And I thought that was just great. I thought it was super sweet. So,
yeah,
really good scene.
It's very sweet.
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
Yeah, very. This whole episode was heartbreaking. I was on the edge of my seat, but also I was crying on the edge of my seat.
But then it has the biggest reveal that any episode has had in years.
Oh my God! It really did.
Missy, which is short for Mistress. Because she can't possibly go around calling herself the Master. Now can she? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Well, and this has been what happened to the Master at the end of time. What happened to RASSILON? We know Gallifrey was saved.
I know. There's so many things that I'm so excited for the next episode because they're going to answer all of these, you know. And it'll be good too because it was like when they revealed that that Yana was the Master. You know, it was you don't go back and watch that and go, oh, you know, Yana. You don't go back and think of Yana being the Master. You don't think of him being the Master until he reveals he's the Master. Do you know what I mean?
Right, because when I was watching that for the first time, you know, I got it just before it happened. Like you kind of pick up because you can hear the voices and you hear the Master's voice. I mean, you hear a line that he said at one point in time anyway, but right before he transforms. The whole thing with him hearing all this stuff and it's affecting him, and that's kind of when you go, oh, holy crap, he's a Time Lord. And then he pulls out the watch and you go, holy crap, he's a Time Lord. And then the Doctor says, oh, that's great, that's good, yeah, no, great, yeah, one of my people is alive, depends on which one. And you're going, oh God, it's a Time Lord. Like, you hit that same phrase 3 different ways. Yeah. And then when finally you hear, you hear him, you hear the lines in his head, and then he turns around and I am the Master, and you're just going, of course it's him. He's a Time Lord. No.
But
last time we saw him, he made this I say it's a selfless act. People have yelled at me for this. They say, oh, it was selfish. All right, fine, it was selfish too. I think he did it because he wanted to be a hero. He wanted to do one last thing, and it meant saving the Doctor. He knew he was going to save the Doctor. He wouldn't have done it unless he knew he was going to save the Doctor. So I think his final act there against RASSILON was more than just him wanting to get revenge. But whatever. We haven't seen him since he committed to basically sending himself back into hell and to death. And
I know.
It was the perfect
I really
amount
hope
of
they
time.
go. I really hope they go into it and everything, and they explain what happened. And I'm excited. But I'm really excited to see Michelle Gomez really be the mistress, and
right,
because even though we've seen her so much already, I don't really think of her as the mistress yet. Now that she's revealed herself as the mistress, from now on I will see her being crazy and doing the mastery type things.
Right.
So I'm excited to see that next week and really see what the Master's plans are and what kind of, because it's the same with the Doctor. They regenerate and they're a different person. So what kind of Master she's going to be?
Right, exactly. Well, and so there's a lot of people who fandom just went crazy when this happened. Like half the fans were just going, yes, and I can't wait to write the fan fiction where they're making love.
Oh, God.
And the other half is saying, oh God, no, don't do this to me, don't make her a woman. Like, what the hell? I want to address all our fans real quick, and all the fans of Doctor Who. I'm a big supporter of LGBTQ. I'm a huge supporter of just everyone should have the same rights as anyone else. 100% believe that it doesn't matter if you're white, black, male, female, gay, straight. I don't care. What matters is the person you are underneath. There are many, many television shows which deal with this and try to say, well, it shouldn't matter, but Look at the Marvel movie universe. They talk about the Black Widow and how she is a strong individual that doesn't need to use her sexuality to win, and she's not portrayed as just being a female version of something. She's her own character with levels and depth, and that's beautiful. But it's still them saying she's a woman, and this is what she's doing with that in order to show that she's a great character. This is the only show I have ever seen that takes all of that, throws it away, and says, screw you, it doesn't even matter. Archetypes are archetypes. Guys, Time Lords are the perfect version of everything, of human beings. Think about it. It doesn't matter that it's played by Michelle Gomez. She's a woman now. Fine, it's still the Master. It doesn't matter if it's a male or female, white, black, gay, straight, dog, human. Who cares?
Dog.
It's the master. Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying it doesn't. It could be a bear. It doesn't matter.
I just imagine the dog
the
being
master.
like, imagine the dog being like, "I'm the master now."
Exactly, because it's about the Time Lord underneath. It's about the Time Lord they are inside. Everything visual is perception. Everything visual is just how they approach the world.
Yeah.
If you could change who you are based on the universe around you, you would. You certainly would. But you would change it to help you, to edge you one way or another when you needed it. We've gone over this before on the podcast about the Doctor. And how he's changed his, he had to be young and sexy so the world would like him again, because he had done horrible things. And then he didn't need to be. He could be old again because he could be his age. He didn't want people to like him for that. He wanted people to just listen and respect him and move on. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what actor or actress is playing it. Because the master is the master, and the Doctor is the Doctor, and it doesn't matter anything else. Guys, this is the only show that does this. Not just because it's written into the show. It's the only show that approaches it and says, an archetype is an archetype, regardless of who you throw in the part. And I think that makes this show the number one show in the history of television. This is why I'm a fan. You cannot find a better show than this for that. Right? And you guys, do you know who came up with this? Do you know who gave us all this? Stephen motherfucking Moffat. So you can stuff all your Moffat hate in a sock and bury it. I'm sick of hearing it. He's the only one making this world a better place, so shut it.
Bravo, Matt. Bravo.
I am very happy with how this season turned out.
I am too. I really, really am. I love this episode, and there's so many little moments in this episode that I want to talk about. First, let's go over our favorite hilarious or our favorite lines because there were so many in this episode, and that's one of the things I love when Stephen Moffat writes an episode. There's always some of the most hilarious lines are written by him too. Not only is he a good science fiction drama writer, he's super hilarious. So there's some really good ones. I really love the whole exchange between Claire and the Doctor when she goes, "What do we do now?" And he's like, "Go to hell." And she's like, "All right, fair enough, fine." And he goes, "No, you asked me what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to hell." I thought that made me laugh. That's pretty funny.
That was amazing. My favorite line wasn't a line. My favorite line was the look. The look the Doctor gave the mistress right after she said, "But I can't go around calling myself the master now, can I?" The first look he gives her is, "What?" And then his second look, when he realizes what has happened, he goes, "What?" It was the David Tennant, what? But it was a look.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Mad props to Capaldi for pulling that off, by the way.
Yes, one of the best faces. I also liked, there was another line that I thought it was a funny line, but then it turned out to be like part of the plot. But after they watched the little video, Clara goes, "That's strange," and he goes, "Yeah, why have the scrolling and the voice?" I thought that was funny, and then it turned out to be because he was realizing something.
Yes,
I don't know why that made me laugh.
No, that was good.
One of the best lines is and we'll talk about this in a second. When he puts his hand on her chest, and she's having him. He goes, "Who does your?" She goes, "My heart belongs to the Doctor," and he says, "Doctor Who," which was great already. They did the thing. But then she goes, "Dr. Chang!" And oh my god, that was too good. And I like Dr. Chang.
I like that she pretended to be a robot.
Yes.
I seriously do.
That was great. It was great.
Only her.
Yeah. And I like Dr. Chang too. It was a shame he had to go.
Well, yeah, he was sadly, he was plot specific.
Yes, he was just
It does not pay to be on the show and to be a plot specific character.
No, it doesn't. I liked, he was telling Capaldi and he was telling the Doctor and Clara about the guy who was researching. He goes, he started to listen to white noise and record it and play it back at low frequencies or whatever. And Doctor goes, he goes, why? Was he an idiot? So good.
Oh god,
so good. Oh, I've got so many more. The Doctor, she goes, I've shut down the elevator, and he goes, well, I presume you have stairs, and she goes, well, I'm not a Dalek.
That was, you know, for all the crap we give the Daleks, I mean, they could just fly.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Let's see. Anything Seb said. He was so hilarious. He was like, "Do you want me to get you a paper bag?" Or when he goes, one of my favorite lines from him was when Danny goes, "You guys have iPads?" And he goes, "iPads? We have Steve Jobs." This is perfect. And my favorite line...
See, and that brings up a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, that brings up a good point about Seb and who Seb is. And that's something actually that kind of bothered me, because you get to the end of the episode and you realize none of that's going on in there is real.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was wondering if Seb stood for something. If we'll get to that. Like if Seb, S-E-B, like if that stood for something. I don't know.
The only thing I could think of is Seb backwards is Bess, and Bessie was the name of the car that the Doctor used to drive.
Oh my god!
So
Seb is the car.
Seb is the Master's car.
The big reveal.
Dun, dun, dun. Bessie,
I've
missed you. Here's something I wonder though. We've seen Missy with Seb. So clearly the Mistress is going into the Matrix.
Yeah, or he comes out, maybe.
Well, but when we saw Missy in there, it was someone who had died. It was a soul that was already
you're right.
I would assume was in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to assume that means that if it's like the Gallifreyan Matrix, if the Mistress can go in and out of it, the way the Time Lords could go in and out of their Matrix, then perhaps Seb is a real person. Mm-hmm. Seb it does exist and could go in and out of that as well. That's where his job is. But no, he says his apartment is over there.
Yeah,
it's in that Matrix.
To see what happens.
Well, maybe he is a program.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. Another one of my favorite lines from Seb. This is my last one from Seb. He goes, here we have some forms for you to fill out. They may help you relax. Not really, but we do need you to fill them out. That made me... I loved that. I thought him just sort of... just trying to console Danny, but not really caring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my favorite moment... I know I've said favorite like 10 times already, but my favorite moment of this whole episode... It's the Doctor and Dr. Chang are leaving, and they're leaving the room, and Clara is going to talk to Danny, and the Doctor's he's like, I don't get it. Something, I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious. And he gets in the elevator, and the doors close, and it's two Cybermen eyes, and the Cyberman theme plays really loudly, like... I laughed so hard at that. That was... I don't know why, but that is my favorite moment of this episode. It's just the cheesiness of it and the hilarity of it, and because we're all at home, we know, and we get the joke, and it's so great. They didn't even try. They acted like the Cyberman was going to be this big reveal, like the water coming down. Oh, it's Cyberman, but you would have known even if you hadn't seen the promo pictures. It's just like yeah. It was.
Well, you saw the trailer. The trailer had Cybermen in it.
Yeah, exactly. So I just
you knew Cybermen were in the whole. I mean, the dark water idea was super cool.
Oh, I love
X-ray water is a great idea.
That was cool,
and it's creepy. Oh. But you knew Cybermen were in it. That was not a twist. That was not a big deal. But yeah, you're right. I like the constant little nods and winks. And it, sometimes in a show when they do the nods and winks, you sit there going, oh God, can you be a little more self-flattering?
Mm-hmm.
But this show, sometimes it does it a little over, heavy-handed. This episode did it in a way that really brought the comedy out for it.
Yeah.
And that's just showing Stephen Moffat's been wanting to write for an older Doctor for a very long time. And now he gets to.
He does. I really love that we knew, but the Doctor didn't know. And that's what made it so funny, is that we all, of course, knew at home, but he didn't know. And
so you're yelling at the screen like, no, Doctor, look, it's Cyberman.
Exactly.
It's going to happen. It's standing in the tank.
One of the really interesting things, too, about the Cybermen, and we've talked about this before, was when Russell T Davies created the Cybermen, there was these new Cybermen, the Cybus Industries, alternate universe ones, where they only put the brain in there. And then we get to the Pandorica opens, and there's a Cyberman who's guarding it, and in the Cyberman head is a skull, and we're like, what? Like a whole skull's in there. And then the thing's trying to get Clara. That was hilarious. But but so this furthers that idea that they decide, well, you know what, we just take the whole body and we put it in the suit. And we see this in Closing Time too, where they put Craig in the machine, and it's sort of just a faster process. But
that's because these are not Cybus Cybermen, though.
Right.
These are Mondas Cybermen.
Yes, these are from the original sort of.
Right.
I don't know what to
because
call
the classic series Cybermen, this is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
We've seen, you and I watched The 10th Planet. They were augmented people anyway, so they were suits, people encased in suits. So when we get to the Pandorica stuff at the end of season 5, we're no longer doing Cybus Industry Cybermen.
No.
Where, the whole thing with the 7th Legion or whatever, the Cyber Fleet in season 6, that's Mondas Cybermen.
Yes.
Those are the Cybermen proper.
Yeah.
And then when we see them again in season 7 and they get an upgrade, that's so we're seeing Cybermen
proper. That's
the way they're supposed to be. Cybermen proper. Universe A Cybermen.
Yes.
Not Universe
not
B
Pete's
Cybermen.
World Cybermen.
Pete's World.
Oh, Pete's World.
We should call it that. I have a theory of something that I want to bring up, and I feel like,
go for it.
Again, we've seen me come up with some crazy theories, and sometimes I think I should write some really good fan fiction, but I don't, because my life is already nerdy enough. But here are the things that here's something that I've been mulling around ever since I saw this episode. I've been thinking about for a while. We have a huge unanswered question that they even told us. He even said when the Time of the Doctor was coming out, Stephen Moffat even said this was a question that wasn't going to be answered yet. This was something that was coming up. Okay? Who the hell was Prisoner Zero? And why was Prisoner Zero aware of the Pandorica and aware of Silence Will Fall and aware of everything that was happening? This has not been referenced back to. We have a couple of unanswered questions still from Matt Smith's time, like who was the woman in the shop that gave Clara the number? And when Clara was there, she saw Missy. So she sees Missy, and she doesn't go, oh, hey, you're the girl from the shop. You're the lady from the shop. You gave me that number for the Doctor. That's a big moment in Clara's life. She's going to remember the face of the woman that did that, whether she remembers the name or not.
She might,
It wasn't Missy that did that.
I think we're being led to believe that, but you're right. It could be a red herring.
Right. So here's my theory. The Master's fighting Rassilon and gets sucked back into the Time War. Well, we know how Gallifrey is saved at the end of the Time War, right? Because the Doctors save it. So he is basically on Gallifrey in a moment of time, and he's frozen. Perhaps just before that happens, Rassilon manages to defeat the Master and puts him in some sort of imprisonment, some way to keep him from being able to, kill him and escape or whatever. So when Gallifrey gets frozen in his moment of time and it's able to reach out through the cracks in time that are created, perhaps, just perhaps, that's what Matt Smith found in the 11th hour. He tore open one of those cracks and found a prison inside. Perhaps the prison was being guarded by the Atraxi. And Prisoner Zero, who came out, was the Master. He escapes at the very beginning of Matt Smith's run. And we know the Master can regenerate. We know he can change his form. He becomes an alien that can connect with other people by their memories.
Well,
and he does this because he doesn't want the Doctor to know who he is.
And if anybody has seen the movie with the Eighth Doctor, we know that he can be some kind of serpenty type creature.
Absolutely. We've seen from the Invisible Enemy that he could be from the Fourth Doctor's time that he can be a different species and look very different. We've seen from the Keeper of Traken that he can act through his TARDIS. That his TARDIS can actually be something. So the Master could have escaped in any number of ways. Okay, but I believe he is Prisoner Zero. He escapes from his prison on the other side in the moment of time. Okay, that Gallifrey is frozen in, and he knows the Doctor does it, so he hides because he's wounded. He needs to heal. And while he's there, the Doctor defeats him and gets the Atraxi there, who capture him again. Okay. But what happens with the Atraxi and Prisoner Zero? They came from the other side of the crack. We know the other side of the crack is Gallifrey. So where did the Atraxi go with them? I think they took him to a planet that they would have tried to keep him prisoner on, but he would have escaped from. We know there's a planet out there called the Promised Land that a bunch of robots were trying to find because they believed that would take them to the Promised Land. They wanted to go there. The Clockwork droid on Earth even wanted to reach the Promised Land. So we know that there are creatures looking for a planet called the Promised Land. All of this plan that Missy has could have been set up on this other planet originally, and then finally brought to Earth once she found the Cybermen. Once she found the Cybermen and cut a deal with them to come to Earth and find a way to, turn people into Cybermen. And she would have had Gallifreyan technology with her because the Atraxi had it. Because they came from Gallifrey on the other end of the other side of the crack. Which means they could have brought a Gallifreyan matrix with them. Missy, as she is not the woman who gave the number to Clara. We know that because Clara saw her and didn't say anything. They didn't recognize her. But we do know Missy says, when looking through the Steve Jobs iPad, says, I chose you very well, didn't I? Ha ha ha. I think she is the woman in the shop who gave the number to Clara. I think it's one of her regenerations. I think she's gone through quite a few regenerations. From Prisoner Zero, through the girl in the shop, through now being Missy.
I really like this.
That's my theory.
This is your best
right?
theory. This is good.
Brings it all together.
It does. I really like the Master being Prisoner Zero.
We know on the other side of the crack was Gallifrey.
Yeah.
We know that. That is all that was there on the other side of the crack. So how the hell is it not the Master? The Atraxi have to be Gallifreyan.
I don't know. We shall see.
Who left the dream spores in the TARDIS for the Doctor, Amy, and Rory to get infected for the Dream Lord to come forth?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because this is we get to see what how Stephen Moffat writes for the Master. That's one of the best things I'm excited for, because this whole time, the whole Matt Smith, I was really kind of disappointed Matt Smith didn't tangle with the Master a little bit. He could have easily tangled with him last season, but I'm glad everything worked out the way it did. But I'm so excited now because I'm excited to see Moffat's take on the Master, and he went a whole different direction.
Yes, he did. Literally.
Yes.
Can I also say I'm glad the Master was not in Matt Smith's run, because if the Master was in Matt Smith's run as the Doctor in the Smith years, it would have had to have been in season 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that makes any sense. We know season 5 was originally written for David Tennant, but Tennant left early, so it was given to Matt Smith.
Yeah.
That the idea that you see him at the very beginning and he's dying, and then you see him again minutes later and he's fine, and that would be the end of the season, was him dying, and he shows it back at the beginning, all timey-wimey. But the Master caused the death, or was a part of what caused the death of Tennant. If he had been in Smith's run, he would have been in the last season, leading up to the 50th, or even the time of the Doctor, which means he then would have caused the death, or been a part of what caused the death of Smith. The Master's already caused the death of one of the Doctors, Tom Baker, he needs to stop doing that. I'm glad we held him off to Capaldi, because Capaldi's not going to die in the next episode.
You're right.
You know? Good.
Yes.
This is all I'm asking in life. Stop killing the Doctor.
There's a couple of moments in here between the Doctor and the Master that I think are really interesting. One of them is when he puts his hand on the Mistress's chest. There's no way that he didn't feel those two hearts. Why do you think he kept quiet about that? Was he just...
He probably didn't understand.
Biding his time? He was trying to, figure it out?
No. I think he felt the two heartbeats, but he couldn't possibly believe it. Again, remember, 2,000 years old, set in his ways, very cranky, but he knows for a fact that his people are all saved in a moment of time. They are not in this universe. I'm sure it was running through his brain going, why is there a person with those two heartbeats? That's impossible unless they're a Time Lord, but the Time Lords are saved. But wait a minute, this person has two heartbeats, so they must be a Time Lord. That Matrix is Gallifreyan. And as soon as he sees that, he starts putting it together, and he starts realizing, you're a Time Lady.
You'd think he'd know.
And he
by
says
now.
that to her. Well, yeah, but he didn't. And especially when he goes, you're a Time Lady, and she goes, yes, and he goes, but which one? He's getting there, but he can't believe it. He can't believe it because all his people are saved in a moment of time. They gave him his regenerations. He probably doesn't even think that that's something he's going to have to deal with yet. So I don't know. It makes a sort of sense. I can see where he's not as quick as some of the other Doctors, but he doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
he's older.
And what do we think about the kiss? I think it's really interesting because there's always sort of been a friendship almost between, an admiration between the Master and the Doctor.
Right. The expanded stuff has them as friends before the Academy. So a lot of the New Virgin adventures, the books that they wrote in the dark times when there was no Doctor Who, had the Master known as Kochi and the Doctor as friends as young boys before they joined the Academy. So they knew each other, and they've made reference in the show that they knew each other, but and they used to run on the Master's father's estates. That was a David Tennant line with the Master. So we know that they're friends. But with Time Lords, it's weird because again, the visual is not important; it's the soul. I am sure, I am positive that it's more than just sexual tension. That these two have. The only reason the Doctor would try so hard to save him all the time is because he cares about him and probably does, in some form or fashion, love the Master. But not... I don't think it's love the Master like, I want to marry you, love, or I want to sleep with you, love.
I know.
I think the Master's just crazy. And the kiss was because the Master was just trying to confuse the crap out of the Doctor.
Well, yes, I believe that too. For sure. The last thing I had was just something I was kind of confused about, and maybe you can answer this for me. That museum that was just in the middle of London. That was where they were at the whole time, right? Or
in the Basilica.
Or is this some kind of TARDIS?
That's what I'm thinking.
What do you think?
I think it's the Master's TARDIS because that's the Basilica. That's a huge church. That people go in there every day. There's no way people are going in there and then going, "Oh, look at all these skeletons." That's a normal thing,
right? I was really confused. I was like, "Wait a minute. So did he just teleport, or what happened?" Because I was like, "There's no way that
they were there the whole time
for that long."
It's the Master's TARDIS. It'll be a line really early on in the next episode where someone, the Doctor says, "It's very clever what you did with the TARDIS so that no one else would go in, even though you were the Basilica." And the Master will be like, "Ha ha ha ha." Oh, the Mistress will be like, "Ha ha ha ha. I do even more with that. You'll never even know." Ba 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 ba. And then, Clara's house? That was me. And you'll be like, "What?"
Clara's house.
You didn't have a friend named Craig. That was a TARDIS. Crazy Mistress.
No, Craig.
The Tesselector? Oh, yeah. I was Rory. It's it's going to be something silly like that. And it's just
I was Rory.
Well, Rory's
right.
nose. Like, he's
Yeah.
you'll know it is. Yeah.
All right. All right, well, final thoughts on this episode, Matt.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the best part ones we've had for a two-parter season finale in a very long time. We haven't seen a part one of two since season 5, so I can't say much about the seasons before or after it, but absolutely one of the best, definitely, and I am super excited for the next one. Top of its class.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a rating for this one?
The top of it. I give it 1,000 points. 1,000 Rorys out of 10.
Okay. All right.
It's bigger on the inside. It can hold that many. Shut up. It's
that many
Rorys.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. This finale is going to be the best finale. I can just feel it. It's going to be the best finale of this show, of this new Who so far. I mean, my favorite finale was probably Pandorica and the Big Bang.
Yeah,
that one was really, really good.
The Big Bang. Yeah.
That one was really good. But I think that this one's going to beat it. I think this one's going to be just the best. So yeah, I give this one a 10 out of 10 for sure. So TARDIS, what do we give it?
Calculating. Voices from the Vortex gives Dark Water 10 out of 10.
And now that brings us to, well, you know what, bud? I've had so much fun with it these last couple of episodes. I'm going to let you do it. What segment are we at now?
Okay, I'll do it. Sure. Oh my God, that promo!
Oh my God, that promo!
Oh, so at first it was sad because we didn't really get one.
It took it a couple of days. They gave us a radio promo. Like, come on, BBC, really?
Which was odd, and then we finally got another one. We got
Hydra stole the Avengers 2 trailer and gave it to us early. You gave us a radio promo the next day? Like, really?
Yeah. Okay, so there's not much in this promo that we didn't already know. We know Unit's there. We know Kate Lethbridge Stewart is there. We know Osgood is there, and she's got a bow tie on and some chucks, which is great. So we know the synopsis for the next episode. It says the Doctor takes to the sky in his new position. And we've seen in the promo, it looks like some sort of smog or smoke is covering the planet from the Cybermen. Mm-hmm. And he's in a Unit airplane with Unit flying over it. I honestly think he's going to get promoted up to head of Unit. I think Unit comes there and conscripts him to be like Unit director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean Unit. I mean Brigadier General Lethbridge Doctor. I'm really interested to see him interacting with Kate and Osgood. I think that's going to be because I want to know how Osgood's going to react. I want to know because she's such a Doctor fan, and she was like, she had the scarf, and then it's obvious she's sort of changed her favorite Doctor. You know, she's like, he's still the fourth. But
maybe
now
next time we see Osgood, she'll like have a bowl of soup and be like, "See, I like that one too."
She's not that old.
Soup. He's 2,000 years old. Do you think the dude doesn't sit down and have a bowl of soup like at like 5:30? He's like, "All right, Clara, we're going to Denny's dinner." She's like, "But Doctor, it's only 2 PM." He's like, "I want to get there for the specials." And like then he has a little bowl of soup before he goes to bed. Clara tucks him in, and he's all like tucked in a little burrito of blankets, and he's all tell me that everything's gonna be okay, and kids aren't playing on the TARDIS lawn. She's like, there are no kids out there, Doctor. You go to sleep, and tomorrow we'll get up real early and go to the coin store and wrap some coins. And he goes, kids and wrapping coins. Like,
are you done?
Hold on, wait.
Are you finished?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
And he wears a hat. All right.
No, I can't lie. I enjoyed every minute of that.
Okay, good.
So, no, but I wonder if Osgood's going to be like, why are you so grumpy? Or, do you know what I mean? I wonder if she's going to have some kind of like crisis with him being different.
Oh, poor Osgood.
I know.
Clearly, her self-worth is dependent entirely on the Doctor and his current regeneration.
So here's one of the big things about what happened in this episode and what's to come in this next thing is the Master. Not only is it the Master, but he's working with the Cybermen. What's he gonna do?
Is he working with them? Is he controlling them? Is he
either one?
Maybe he's enslaved by them and he can't get away?
Either one. What's his plan? I want to know. Like, I'm really interested to see this. And
her plan. Use the right. Identifier.
I'm sorry. The Mistress. What is her plan? It's so epic. I'm sorry. It's just so epic. I don't even know because it's.
Oh God. What if she wants to turn all of Earth into an army of Cybermen? Remember we were talking about it earlier. What could Missy possibly be doing with souls? And I kept saying she could turn them into an army. Like what would the army be for? To kill the Doctor? What if the army is she wants to turn all the humans into Cybermen and invade Gallifrey?
Well, and she has that really creepy line of, like, all the graves on Earth are about to give birth. And you're just like, what? So
I like that it rhymed like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then, Missy, the mistress of old, she said, all the graves will soon become bold. All the little dead boys and girls and men and women will become all the Cybermen. They'll stomp and they'll stomp. They'll huff and they'll puff. They'll squiggledy-dee and squiggledy-duff because Dr. Seuss just fucking made up words.
Yes.
And none of it made any sense.
No, it was perfect, though.
And Little Thing 1 and Little Thing 2 looked over at the fish who was quite blue because he was out of his water and dying. But soon he became a cyberfish.
He died and became a cyberfish.
Oh my God, I want to take old classic Dr. Seuss tales and just do them all as Doctor Who villains.
There you go.
Like the Cat in the Hat will be the Master or the Mistress. And the places you'll go, we'll just have him like traveling all over the different planets and he'll get assimilated by Cybermen and Daleks and whatever.
Sure.
And it'll the story will cut short and end with just him as a Cyberman and a whole bunch of other Cybermen, and they'll be like, come join us on our collective delete, and you're just like, this book is horrid for children. Why would Dr. Seuss write this? What was wrong with him? It's the Dr. Seuss.
You could do in the forest of the night. Like, you stick the Lorax in there.
Oh my God!
Don't cut down the trees.
Don't cut down the trees. Hey, you! Were you going to cut down those trees? Not me. Who's that guy? That's a brilliant idea. Yes, continue.
Let's go. Back to the trailer. One thing I loved about the trailer is the Cyberman on the plane. It was so reminiscent of "There's something on the wing."
Well, he kind of does
action.
That too.
Yeah.
She asks him what are you looking at? And he's like, the smoke still covering. And then the Cyberman shows up and he goes, "There's a Cyberman on this fuselage." I kind of want him to turn to look at him and he goes, "You have to believe me."
I saw it with my own eyes.
It's
out there.
It's a cyber thing on the fuselage. That was a really good promo. I'm really jazzed.
I know. I really am too. This finale is going to be so epic and just so good. And this was such a good way to start it off. And this season, You'll probably hear it from us one more time in the next episode. This season started off a little rough, but man, it got so good, and
it did.
I'm so glad that we've gotten to this point. And it's going to be sad when it's over, but I can't wait to see it.
Maybe the Doctor needs to call on the Dalek that's fighting other Daleks and bring him in to be like his weapon and fight all the Cybermen.
Yes, you know what? It is about time for another Cyberman Dalek showdown.
Right? It's been so long. Come on, Moffat. You got it in you. I know you do. Alright. Hey guys, this has been a fantastic episode and a fantastic season. I'm so glad you joined us on this journey, and hey, come back again, because there'll be one more of these, and we're gonna glee out just a little bit. Just a little bit, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Alright guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Here on the Vortex.
Voices from the Vortex is written, edited by, and starring Taylor Davidson and Matthew Whitecamp.
With Danielle Davidson as the sexy voice of the TARDIS.
Theme music composed by Brian Worth.
Visit our website, www.broadcastgallifrey.com.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for an enhanced podcast experience.
Follow us on Twitter, @Vortex Podcast.
Like us on Facebook.
Follow us on Tumblr and Google+.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, and if you like what you've heard, leave a review.
Ask us a fan question through any of these media, and we'll answer it on the podcast.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned to the Vortex.
End of transmission.